Alright, so in this second episode of Be Logical, I'm going to describe four or five concepts to you of logic, and after I do that, I will use those concepts to analyze what sounds like to me to be a threat by a CEO, David Siegel in Florida, to basically fire his employees if Obama is reelected. Okay, so the concepts I'll describe to you are categorical propositions, quantifiers, quality, and contradictions. Now, you'll recall if you watched my first episode that I talked about a proposition as reflecting an attempt to state what is true. However, in that proposition I only used a singular term as the subject. I said, Autif is making a podcast, and we're assuming that Autif just refers to one individual, me. Okay? Now, in a categorical proposition, both the subject and the predicate are categories, hence the name categorical propositions. So, for example, in the proposition, all doctors are rich, doctors is a category, and rich is a category. Now, words like all, every, any, doctors are rich, those are quantifiers, and they express the extent to which the category doctors falls under the category rich. Okay, and because it basically functions to say that every member of doctor falls under the category rich, a proposition such as all doctors are rich has a positive quality. Now, with a proposition like no doctors are rich, first no is the quantifier, because it basically says that every member that falls under the category doctor is entirely excluded from the category rich. Categorical propositions like no doctors are rich has a negative quality. Okay? Now, in order to contradict a proposition with a universal quantity, you'll have to follow a procedure different from what I explained in the first video. To contradict a proposition like all doctors are rich, you would have to formulate the following proposition. Some doctors are not rich, because it cannot be both true that every doctor is rich, but there is at least one doctor who isn't rich, and at the same time it cannot be both false that every doctor is rich, but there is at least one doctor who is not rich. Okay? And then for the categorical proposition, no doctors are rich, you'd have to formulate the following proposition. Some doctors are rich, because it cannot be both true that there is not a single doctor who is rich, but there is at least one doctor who is rich. Again, at the same time, it cannot be both false that there is not a single doctor who is rich, but there is at least one doctor who is rich. Okay, now I'm going to describe the situation to you. David Siegel is a founder and CEO of Westgate Resorts in Florida. And it's my view, it seems to me that he's basically threatening to fire his employees if Obama is reelected. But you know what, I'll show you the exact quote so you can see for yourself.
Okay, here's the exact quote. It's quite simple. If any new taxes are levied on me or my company, as our current president plans, I will have no choice but to reduce the size of this company. Rather than grow this company, I will be forced to cut back.
This is my analysis. So he says, if any new taxes are levied, it will force him to cut back his workforce. Now, the key word in that statement is any. Basically, in a categorical proposition, he would be saying all new taxes will force him to cut back his workforce. Now, formally, to contradict that statement, you would say that some new taxes levied will not force him to cut back his workforce. That's what you'd have to say formally to contradict him. But now let me make clear how little is required to contradict his belief that all new taxes will force him to cut back his workforce. If even the smallest percentage of a tax is levied on him, but it does not force him to cut back his workforce, then he will have been contradicted. Okay, so that's all you really have to prove is if President Obama levies a new tax, Siegel doesn't cut back his workforce, he'll be contradicted. Okay, and that's my analysis. When you get the chance, please check out my website, logicandreasoning.webs.com, and please give me any non-hostile feedback if you have any, so I can improve these videos in the future. Alright, thank you.